Hi there, my name's Bruce Rain from Breakers Creations, and in this video I'll be reviewing the Fnirsi DWS-200 Soldering Station. I first heard about the Fnirsi DWS-200 from a viewer during a live stream. He mentioned how happy he was with it, so I contacted Fnirsi to see if they would let me review one. A week or two later, a box arrived. It looks like this box has been opened at some stage in transit, maybe by customs or something like that. But hopefully everything that is meant to be in here is still in here. Okay, we've got a full colour manual, and that is in 4 different languages. This is the main part of the soldering station, and it kind of looks like a robot's foot. And here is the stand, and it's got a little bristly brushy thing for cleaning the tip of your iron. And this part here rotates up and down, which is quite good. And then we have this box here. This is not an Australian power cable, this is a European one, but I knew that was what was coming in the package. But it just uses a standard C13 plug, so I can use any standard power cable I have lying around. And then we have a bunch of tips here by the look of it. I should have 9 in total, 6 F245s and 3 F210s. 6 and 3, so that's good. That's what I was expecting. Oh, these are our little articulated helping hands, little bendy guys. This looks like the F245 handle, and that's the F210 handle. And then we've got a little cable which connects from that to that. I assume it's for detecting auto power off or something along those lines. And then we have this cable guide here. I'll show how that works later. So the helping hands attach onto the side of this box here. We've got a couple little rubber covers there. Remove those, and then these just go in like that. And then you can use them for holding things in place while you're soldering, which is quite handy. Let's take a look at the cartridge tips that were included with this bundle, starting with the 245s. Here is a small chisel tip at the top, then we have a slightly larger chisel tip, then a very fine conical tip, a slightly larger, slightly rounded conical tip, a bent conical tip, and then a bevel tip. You can see some discoloration on this one because I've already been testing with it. The bevel tip is probably the one I use the most in my day-to-day soldering. In the 210s, we have this fine chisel tip here, we have this very fine conical tip there, and a very fine bent conical tip there. So this is the cable guide here, it goes on the side there. And I can screw that up and set that at whatever angle we want. And then we have this cable here, which plugs in there and plugs in there. Time to plug it in. Okay, switches on at the back. We've got a lovely, well, it's coming up looking a bit purple on the video, but it's actually bright blue. So the tip cartridge just goes into the handle like that. This little cable guide here is designed for use like this. So you can put that up like that so that's holding it up a bit higher for when you want to do some soldering. The DWS-200 is available in a few configurations. The 245 standard, 210 standard, 245 plus, 210 plus, and the max. The 245 standard comes with the F245 handle and 1 cartridge tip. This handle will also work with JBC C245 tips. The 210 standard comes with the F210 handle and 1 cartridge tip. This handle will also work with the JBC C210 tips. The 245 Plus comes with the F245 handle and 6 cartridge tips. The 210 Plus comes with the F210 handle and 3 cartridge tips. The DWS-200 Max comes with everything: the F245 handle, the F210 handle,
6 F245 tips, and 3 F210 tips. This bundle is what I'm reviewing. Let's look at the difference between the F210 and F245 handle and tips. The F245 is larger and designed for more general-purpose soldering, and the F210 is smaller and designed for precision soldering of small surface mount components. For the variety of work I do, I'll probably be using both sizes.
Before we take a closer look at the DWS-200, I want to take a moment to talk about the things that I look for in a soldering station. Fast heating and fast recovery are extremely important. While I don't actually mind waiting for an iron to heat up, I do want an iron to be able to recover quickly if I'm soldering something with high thermal mass, like a large copper ground plane or a heatsink. They can draw the heat away from the iron tip, and unless the soldering station has the power to bring the tip back up to peak operating temperature quickly, it can greatly impact on your soldering. I sometimes solder for hours, so the iron must be light and comfortable to hold. The iron tip shouldn't be too long. The further it is from where you grip, the harder it is to control. After prolonged use, you don't want the heat of the iron to start heating up the handle, making it uncomfortable to hold. Traditionally, soldering stations would have the heater in the handle. A tip would be inserted into the heating element and the heat would transfer to the tip. More recently, soldering station manufacturers have been adopting cartridge tips that incorporate the heating element and the tip into one. This provides faster and more efficient heating. For me, this is a deal breaker. I only use soldering stations that use cartridge tips. When I'm soldering, I often need to change the tip of the iron partway through a job. For example, I might need a finer tip to get into a hard-to-reach place. I don't want to have to switch off the iron, wait for it to cool, swap the tip, and then wait for it to heat up again, and then go through that again to change back. So this is an absolute must for me, though not as important for a casual solderer. Making changes to the temperature or other settings should be intuitive. It's good to have an iron that will either switch off or lower its temperature automatically when not in use. If you happen to walk away from your iron and forget that it's still on, it's good to know that it's not going to be running at full temp the whole time.
Now let's take a quick tour of the DWS-200 interface. It has this magnificent 2.8-inch colour LCD screen and 6 buttons, which make the interface incredibly easy to navigate. There is a big power button at the bottom, left and right buttons, the channel back button, the settings button, and the mode OK button. Press the power button to switch on the DWS-200. As long as the handle is in the holder, the iron will immediately activate the sleep mode and heat to the specified sleep temperature, which is 100 degrees Celsius by default. You can also see a countdown below which tells you how long until the iron will automatically power down and go into standby mode. The default is 30 minutes. To start using the iron, just remove the handle from the holder. The holder uses induction to detect whether the iron is in place or not. The flashing blue lights on the front of the unit indicate if the iron is currently heating. The faster the blue lights strobe, the greater the heating power being applied. The top left of the screen indicates which handle is currently installed. In this instance, it's showing the F245. The top right shows the current temperature target. If I place the iron back into the holder, it immediately initiates the sleep mode, and you can see the target temperature drop down to 100 degrees. The large digital numeric display shows the actual temperature of the iron. Below the temperature display are 3 temperature presets. These can be edited in the settings, and pressing the CH button toggles between them. The blue bar at the bottom indicates the iron's current power output. You'll see this get up to 100% while it's heating the iron from cold, but it will drop down to less than 5% for maintaining temperature once the target has been reached. There are 3 icons down the right-hand side. The top icon indicates when the DWS-200 has audio prompts activated. I like to have audio prompts active, but I also like the volume to be set quite low. We'll take a look at all the configurable settings in a moment. The middle icon shows the current activity status. The DWS-200 has 3 modes of activity: heating, sleeping, and standby. Heating is when the iron is actually in use. Sleeping is when the iron has been placed back in the stand and the temperature drops to 100 degrees Celsius. It may seem a little odd to immediately drop the temperature when it's placed in the stand, but the DWS-200 heats so fast it can save power consumption by dropping the temperature while not in use. Standby mode is where the iron hasn't been used for 30 minutes and it powers down. The screen is still active, but the iron tip stops heating. The bottom icon indicates whether the iron has temperature lock activated, which we'll cover in a moment. While the iron is active, you can use the right and left buttons to raise or lower the current temperature in 5-degree increments. If you're in sleep mode, the right and left buttons will change the current sleep temperature. If you're in heating mode, they will change the current heating temperature. If you would prefer an increment greater or less than 5 degrees, this can be changed in the settings. Pressing the mode button while the iron is active will change the main view. In addition to showing the temperature numerically, you can change to a split view with temperature at the top and a chart at the bottom that plots the iron's current temperature on a timeline. Press the mode button again to see a larger chart that shows both the temperature of the iron and the power output plotted on a timeline. Unfortunately, the DWS-200 defaults back to the main view after powering off and on again, so if you prefer one of these other views, you have to change it each time you switch the unit on. To change the iron settings, press the Settings button on the right. There are 7 pages of settings that you can scroll through with the left and right buttons. The first page allows you to set the increments for raising or lowering the iron temperature. The default is 5 degrees Celsius, which I think is quite suitable. The second option is for the temperature lock. When switched on, the iron temperature can't be changed from the main interface. To make a change to any of the settings, press the OK button, then press the left and right buttons to toggle between the items on the page. When you have the relevant item selected, press OK again to make a change to that setting. Press the OK button to toggle an item on or off, or use the right and left buttons to either raise or lower the value of a setting, then press OK to apply the change. Press the CH return button to deselect the item. I don't need to change anything on this page, so let's check out page 2. Here we can set the sleep temperature, change the length of time the iron will stay in sleep mode before going into standby mode, as well as the option of switching the screen off when in standby. The next page allows us to change the 3 preset temperatures. I like to work with a really hot iron, so I'm going to make the first preset temp 420 degrees Celsius. The next page is for temperature calibration. On the next page, we can adjust the screen brightness, the audio volume, and toggle the temperature units between Celsius and Fahrenheit. I think the DWS-200 is a bit loud, so I'm going to adjust the volume right down. The next page allows you to toggle languages between Chinese and English. And the last page is for restoring factory settings. This also shows us that we're using firmware version 1.2. I have a fairly unconventional warm-up test, which involves wrapping the tip of the iron in some leaded solder, then seeing how long it takes to melt. In this test, I'm comparing the F245 and F210 tips to my Hakko FX951 and the portable TS101 soldering iron. The F245 comes in first at 5 seconds, followed by the F210 at 6 seconds. The TS101 comes in third at 9 seconds, then the FX951 brings up the rear at 20 seconds. I have here a large blob of solder sitting on a plane of copper. For this test, I'll shove the tip into the blob of solder to see how long it takes to fully melt. The DWS-200 takes about 8 seconds to melt the entire blob. which is about half the time it took the Hakko FX951. The F245 tip is about 50mm away from the handle grip, which is about the same as my FX951. This is excellent and allows for fine control of the iron. The F210 tip is even closer at 40mm. I've been using the DWS-200 for a few weeks now, including during a few marathon live streams. The handle is very light, the grip is soft and comfortable, and there's no noticeable warmth transferred from the tip to the handle in normal use. Here is a thermal image of the F245 handle with the tip at around 400 degrees Celsius. The area of the handle closest to the tip is sitting at around 30 degrees Celsius. Here is a thermal image of the F245 handle after the tip has been sitting at 400 degrees Celsius for around 30 minutes without a break. That same area is now sitting at around 60 degrees Celsius. Despite this, the handle is still quite comfortable to hold. The handle has a very snug, satisfying fit into the stand, and I really like the brass brush tip cleaner. This may polarize some users, but I definitely like it. Hot swapping the DWS-200 tips is very quick and easy. The stand has these metal prongs. You can insert the tip in here and then pull on the handle to release the tip. Even though this tip is 400 degrees Celsius at the hot end, the other end is quite cool to touch, allowing you to carefully pick it up, place it in a stand, and then insert the next tip you want to use. This is an interesting one. I was initially made aware of this by one of my viewers during a live stream. The tip of the DWS-200 is not grounded. But what is really peculiar is that the DWS-200 printed circuit board has a space for placing a resistor or jumper in order to ground the tip. But there's nothing there. Now, I'm not going to speculate why because I don't have the knowledge. But if you'd like to watch a video about it, Defpom's Electronics Repair delves into this a little deeper and even solders a 2 ohm resistor into this location in order to ground the tip. This is something I will probably do as well.
I've been using the DWS-200 for a few weeks now, and there really isn't much I can fault about it. For starters, it's a really nice looking unit. I know looks shouldn't matter, but after years of using a soldering station with a comically horrendous interface and a case that looks like a kid's toy, this has a nice modern tech aesthetic, and the big colour screen looks beautiful. The temperature readout is big enough for me to see, even without my glasses on. The stand is first rate. It feels really solid and I love the way it swivels. The metal prongs for removing the tips when hot work really well. I also like that it uses induction to detect if the tip is in the stand. For tip cleaning, I've never seen a brass brush like this, but it's incredibly effective. I'm not sure how long it will last or if replacements are available, but I really like it. The cable guide is also a nice touch, making it less likely for the cable to get caught on something. The handle is light and even after long-term use it's still quite comfortable. I do have my concerns about the longevity of this spongy grip thing, but I guess I'll just have to wait and see how it holds up. The tip length is short and close to the grip for maximum control without getting too hot to handle. Compatibility with the JBC C245 and C210 tips is a huge advantage as there is an incredible range of tips available. One of the first things I did after getting the DWS-200 was buy a C245-126 tip for soldering in those hard-to-reach places. The interface is super intuitive. For most users, I doubt the manual will even be required. The DWS delivers plenty of heating power with the iron ready for use after only a few seconds, and it recovers really well in demanding situations. Both the iron and stand have a little channel in the top for storing spare tips, which is a very practical feature. The optional helping hands are also a nice addition. So who is the DWS-200 best suited for? The base model is a little over $100, which might make it too expensive for the hobbyist or part-time solderer, but it's a great price when compared to some of the high-end soldering stations out there. I think it's a great unit for anyone who does a lot of soldering and expects a lot from their soldering station. One important thing I really should add is that I'm so happy with the DWS-200, it has become my main workshop soldering station. It's what I'll be using for the foreseeable future. A big thanks to Fnirsi for sending me this iron. I did receive it for free, but I've not been paid for my opinions. If you'd like to buy one, there are links in the description and a discount code. Thanks for watching.